Every year, millions of people around the world decide to play pretend together, welcoming ghosts, monsters with candy.
Ooh, piece of
But
candy.
why? Why do we call our goofy smiles into vegetables and set him on fire? Are we laughing at fear or trying to make friends with it? Every year, on the night of October 31st, the world changes a little. Neighborhoods filled with costumed strangers, and we hand out candy to them as if obeying a strange old rule. We decorate our homes with ghosts, graves, and skeletons, symbols of death, and yet still all
You
fun.
don't really know much about Halloween. You thought no further than the strange custom of having your children wear masks and go out begging for candy.
Before anyone cared about chocolate, people came to Halloween for something else entirely. The fear was real, while the doors were carefully locked. The night had real consequences when the spirits came to
It became
visit.
a dangerous holiday.
Well, this cheerful ritual began with something much older. A night when people didn't just pretend to believe in ghosts. They actually thought the dead were walking among them. Fire's ready and...
Oh my God,
Wait, what is
that?
Nah, never mind, just grab a seat. You'll want to hear this one. It all begins 2,000 years ago, in the misty highlands of ancient Ireland. It's late October, and the final harvest is done. The air smells of smoke and cold soil. You live in a Celtic tribe. Farmers, hunters, druids, whose year doesn't start in January. It starts tonight. Because this is Sawing, the summer's
It
end.
was the start of the year in our old Celtic lands, and we'd be waiting in our houses of wattles and clay.
To the count, the world worked like breathing. Inhale and exhale. Light and dark. Summer was life, and winter was death. And sawing was the in-between. The moment of transition. The threshold between what is and what was. And tonight, they believed that threshold thing and the dead could return, walking, whispering, visiting their old home, not just as memories, but as presents. And some came with love, but some came with hunger. To face those people lit massive bonfires. Part protection, part please don't kill us signal to the gods. They left food outside for the wandering souls, hoping that a little snack would buy them some safety. And just to be sure, they wore masks made of animal hides and skulls, so that if an evil spirit came, it would recognize them as humans. And that right there was the first costume, the first trick or treat. They didn't know it, but that night they created a tradition that would outlive empires. The first Halloween. But it wasn't called Halloween yet. That name would only come centuries later, through an unlikely alliance of pagan fear and Christian faith. You know, Christians were never much of a fan of pagan culture. By the 8th century, Christianity had spread all across Europe, and they had a problem. There was the stubborn crowd of locals still out there, dancing around fires, wearing animals' calls and talking to the dead. A bit awkward when you're preaching one true faith. The church couldn't stand pagan customs, and the solution they found was to rebrand it. So Pope Gregory III came up with a clever strategy. He shifted the Feast of All Saints to November 1st, honoring the saints and martyrs in a way they just happened to overlap with the old Celtic festival. A neat bit of cultural conversion, or appropriation, depending on how charitable you're feeling. It could well be something else, if you know what I mean. A couple of popes later, Pope Gregory IV made it official. That's when All Saints' Day, also called All Hallows' Day, took its place on the calendar. And naturally, the night before became All Hallows' Eve. Over time, the words blurred together. By the 16th century, people were already calling it Halloween. If you stepped into Ireland or Scotland in the 1500s on Halloween night, you would see communal fires burning on the hills, voices chanting through smoke, the smell of ale and harvest bread in the cold air. A man dressed as Lair Bond, the White Mare, would lead groups from house to house, reciting verses everyone understood or all that the church would approve of. They weren't just performing, they were asking for tribute. Others didn't just dress up as spirits, they became them. If you refused hospitality, these spirits might leave you with a problem or two by morning. Out in the bogs, you would notice strange lights flickering, Deigmis fatus, or just fool's fire. A natural gas effect common at the time. The folk whispers this is Jack of the Lantern. A similar fire would be seen in other places. Carved turnips, glowing at every house impersonating souls. Sometimes people will get creative and carve crude little faces of fire. Then to let any traveler know this house was already protected, the youth used these turnips to impersonate Jack of Lantern on the road, giving rise to the tale of the stingy Jack. People gathered in homes, barns, or village greens. Something Robert Burns' poem Halloween from 1785 catches perfectly. Still half joy and half fear. They also loved flirting with the future, burning hazelnuts like tiny lot tests, yanking cabbage from fields like it held the secrets of destiny, staring in the wells waiting for bees to write for me to literally materialize. All of it straight out of Someone's oldest playbook. Well, the rebrand kind of worked. At least on paper. Because as you can see, changing the name didn't change the night. Human nature is something really hard to change. So the church did what they could, gave Salim a Halloween costume. This was all before America. Fast forward another decade, crossing the Atlantic. In the mid-1800s, when half of America was sprinting west, hypnotized by the gold rush, millions of Irish immigrants arrived in America fleeing famine and hardship and bringing their customs with them. They'd bring the idea of the jack-o'-lantern and an Irish legend about a man named the Stingy Jack, who tricked the devil twice to not go to hell, but still not accepted in heaven. He gets stuck wandering there with only a burning coal inside a hollowed out turnip. But the turnips were kinda hard to carve in America. Now they just used pumpkins instead. A simple substitute that would become one of the most iconic branding symbol in American culture. Communities began hosting autumn festivals in rural areas, blending harvest celebrations with that inner excitement of the old South. It didn't took long for the festivals to enter the scene. Some neighborhoods, mostly Irish, hold block gatherings. Halloween here features a mixture of guising and harvest fairs, while Penny Dreadful's books popularized some legends and tales. This 1849 magazine features two Halloween traditions that, well, didn't quite make it out of history alive. The first one is easy enough, staring through a mirror at exactly midnight, and you will supposedly glimpse the face of your future spouse, romantic, until someone actually shows up there. The second, oh, they really over-engineered this one. You hard boil an egg, drown it in enough salt to preserve a pharaoh, choke it down completely dry, and then go straight to bed like her anime ritual speedrun. The idea is that the salt makes you thirsty, and in your dream, your future husband appears, offering in a glass of water. If you take the glass, congratulations. He or she will show up soon, but if you don't, well,
you got bad luck.
After surviving Civil War era social strain, the festival kept on growing. Post-war was basically one long national ghost story. Thousands of missing men, unmarked graves, families waiting for names that never came. So a holiday about wandering spirits, let's just say the vibes were right on sketch. By the time passed, the middle-class Americans had discovered of their new favorite parlor divination game. Apple bobbing, near scrying, and pretending to summon your future spouse all became perfectly respectable after dinner entertainment. Just peel an apple in a single strip and throw it over your shoulders. They were landed as the first ladder of your future lover. Magazines even jumped in, dishing out how to host your very own Halloween party tips. Towns stage public harvest events, and children games become common in community halls. The coolest Halloween game ever was definitely Snap the Apple. The kids just loved it. Pick up a stick, an apple on one side and a candle to the other, and hang the whole thing. Given a good spin, physics will test your fate. The goal is simple: light the apple before the candle smokes your hair and eyebrows, or the wax blinds you forever. No clue white-eyed out. But in the background, may I say, the real Halloween. Kids and teens form gangs for one night, overturn wagons, vandalize storefronts, tie ropes across roads. The mischiefs were getting out of control. Middle-class newspapers called it the annual outbreak of vandalism. Beautiful, isn't it? But the new progressive era didn't think they wanted order and clean streets. So the solution, they said, was to turn the chaos into civic events. Community centers and schools started hosting costume parties. Newspapers began covering them like local triumphs. And before long, Halloween was domestic, institutionalized. It wasn't that easy. It took some time to tame those kids. They were literally putting whole wagons on top of barns.
See my baby there, she's dressed out on a long white table. She's so sweet, so calm, so fair. let her go, oh bless her. Wherever she may be, she will search this wide world over, but she'll never find another sweet man like me.
World War I changed the world's tone, but small towns kept their Halloween gatherings. The early 1900s Halloween doesn't really look like fun. It looks more like a haunting caught on camera. I don't want to be on those streets. Honestly, the counts and maybe even the spirits from 2,000 years ago would have begged those kids to stay away. America's were still channeling old Irish folk tradition, mostly without realizing. Costumes were whatever you could cobble together from the closet. Expect ghosts, witches, and the occasional I just want to look creepy mashup. Until Dennison's famous bogey books showed up to offer guidance. By the 1920s, the mischief had a rhythm. Kids went door to door. They are not for candy. Smashed pumpkins, broken fences, soap windows, or the house's specialty, wagons on rooftops. Finally, in the 1930s, towns got smart. This time they knew what to do. Maybe because the adults of now were the tricksters who started their whole chaos. Candy became a bribe really to keep the chaos at bay, and it just worked. World War II created a candy shortage and limiting trick-or-treating to almost nothing. But when the war ended, America changed overnight. Soldiers came home, suburbs sprouted. Now with streets filled with kids and doors with candy, a new ritual was born. The candy companies saw the open and rushed in like a sugar-filled army ready to claim the holiday. Halloween's back now, mass-produced, shrink-wrapped, and sold as a family-friendly night of fun. Safe, sweet, and corporate approved. By the 60s, it had moved into the living room. Television made a Halloween cozy. Cartoons, specials, family sitcoms as mining pumpkins. By this point, Halloween had mastered its American form. Television polished it and companies packaged it. And whatever Celtic ritual remained was buried under plastic masks in the ads and annual TV specials.
Crackerjack, from an ancient family recipe.
Now let's face it, Halloween got soft in the late 30s, but in the 70s, things got darker again. Horror found its home on Halloween night. Psycho gave way to Halloween, and suddenly the masks wasn't fun anymore. Teenagers threw parties, haunted houses popped up, and the knife got its edge back. But the 80s kind of turned that edge into paranoia. Actually, not kind of. People really went nuts.
You see, some people think it's fun to play tricks with your treats. Watch out for candy wrappers that have been torn or punctured. That might be a sign of tampering.
Stories of razor blades and apples, whispers of
might be
satanic
things
cults.
in the candy.
Fear was everywhere, as it was supposed to. Just not supernatural anymore. Counts tried to make trick-or-treating safe, while the industry realized there was money in fear too. And by the 90s, Halloween's already that multi-billion-dollar industry that we know. It had gone full blockbuster. Theme parks built horror nights. Suburban laws turned into graveyards, and pumpkins became props for an entire seasonal economy. Even the early internet jumped in. Messy forums, pixelated tutorials, and strangers trading their obscure tactics like it was the digital Wild West. What began as bonfires in the dark was now running on neon lights, latex masks, foggy machines, and corporate budgets. By the 2000s, the formula was set. The only thing that changed was the brightness of the screens selling it back to us. People been saying Halloween have already hit its golden age, sometime between the late 90s and early 2000s.
How do you know that?
Maybe, but to be honest, I doubt it. From 1860 toward early 1900, you'll find newspapers passages every year saying Halloween's long gone. A tradition that survived druids, popes, pranksters, war, suburbs, moral panics, and mall culture? Yeah, it's not done evolving. Halloween is a shapeshifter, and it's been changing form for over 2,000 years. It was never just about pretending to be monsters. It's more about proving we're not afraid of them. And even now, for one night every year, we remember. The boundary between the living and the dead was never really gone. And maybe that's the oldest ritual of all. Told you it was a good one. But just one last thing, I've been wanting to ask you through the whole video. What the hell is that thing behind you?